This movie was sparked by the first theme of NSDAR's American Heritage Art Contest, Act of Treason by the British Crown, risking it all. It's a great theme for America's 250th. So it's the story of the life of one of our founding fathers, George Read, my sixth great-grandfather. Although they did not accept movie entries into the art contest, this story about him just had to be finished. George's best defense against oppressive British rule were his knowledge of law and his signature. Along with his wife Gertrude and their family, George risked it all on multiple occasions with his bravery to defend the formation of a new country. As a representative of Delaware, he was a member of the First Continental Congress, where he signed the petition to the king. The flames of war were fanned, and the Revolutionary War soon began. George's ultimate risk was signing the Declaration of Independence. Living on the coast of Delaware, they were continuously vulnerable to British troops. They imprisoned the President of Delaware and they pillaged his property. George was swiftly made acting governor. While evading capture, he ran the state for several months. During this time, the British captured Gertrude and occupied their home. The stress of it all nearly killed George and greatly disrupted their lives for at least 6 years. The end of the war did not bring peace and tranquility for George because he continued to dedicate his skills to shaping the laws and governmental structure of the United States. Using Grok Imagine, the family is brought to life. We begin on the Strand in Newcastle, Delaware, where George Read started his law practice. George owned a farm nearby that he called Stoneham. George married Gertrude Ross, daughter of the Reverend of his church, Emmanuel Episcopal. George was Attorney General of Delaware for 11 years. He also represented Delaware in the First Continental Congress, where he signed the Continental Association to boycott British goods in response to the Intolerable Acts. He also signed the petition to the king, written by his good friend John Dickinson. After the first shots were fired, George was elected to the Second Continental Congress, but he was still advocating for peace through reconciliation. Then 1 month later, August 2nd, 1776, at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, George Read signed the Declaration of Independence, along with his brother-in-law, George Ross. The signers were fully aware of the dangers they had just put themselves, their families, and their country in. Celebration was short-lived, and George's life was soon turned upside down. Governor McKinley was captured by the British and held prisoner on a ship on the Delaware River. They confiscated all of his possessions. Even though George knew he could be next, he still accepted the position as their next governor. October 1777, George's wife Gertrude is captured by the British and they confiscate their home. George managed to secure the release of Gertrude from the British, and they fled with their family to her brother's house in Wilmington. On the way, their boat got lodged on the shoreline, so they were inspected by the British. They managed to elude capture by being plainly clothed. George and Gertrude corresponded often. George wrote to General George Washington to request clothing and fabric for the troops in Delaware. George fell ill from the pressures of his position of leadership of the state and of their Continental Army. And he also had to move from place to place to avoid capture by the British. And that went on for a total of 6 years. He joined with his family to recover from his illness in a secret location for a period of 3 years. While still a member of the General Assembly, he was appointed judge of the Court of Admiralty. Next was being appointed to the convention in Annapolis that met to address the defects in the Articles of Confederation. Next, George became a member of the Committee of Detail formed to draft the Constitution. September 17, 1787, George Read signed the Constitution of the United States of America. He was elected Senator of Delaware twice, in 1789 and 1791. He resigned to accept appointment as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Delaware, a position he held until the end of his life, September 21, 1798.